there's nothing really for me to conclude or restate. But what I would like to touch upon would be something that our Ambassador Mark Kent touched upon, and that was the term international qualification as opposed to local qualification. I have served as the advisor to the Committee on Education at the National Legislative Assembly for the past year or so without any kind of significant pay, because at first they appoint me as an honorary advisor. And I actually volunteered to sit in a committee called Strategic Formation for Education Reform in Thailand. And yesterday I spent nearly all day proposing some amendments to the legislation. And some comments from the floor was even suggested, why amend it? Why don't rewrite it? So I think we have about 14 months or so to rewrite this so-called law that would support the education reform that this particular government has committed to complete before the election. So I'd like to report to you that the international qualifications such as the degree from such an enormous prestigious university like University of London is a prime example of what I was actually preaching them. And in addition to that, you know that our vocational education in the country also badly beaten by virtually everyone in the country to have such a low quality. And in the past year or two, I have been working closely, at least informing the ambassador closely, constantly, regularly, that I also working closely with Pearson Edexcel to bring BTech, which stands for Business Technology Education Council. It's a tremendous vocational courses that recognized by virtually every other country except Thailand and Laos and Cambodia. And good news is that I've been working on this, and the Ministry of Education within a month will sign off to allow international school, Regent International School, both Bangkok and Pattaya, to offer the BTech courses. Of course, today is much more significant with the name of University of London. But the point I'm making is that Thailand, in order to really be able to compete with the world or neighboring countries in ASEAN, we must look at international qualification, whatever we do in our training, in our education. So I'm very pleased to be able to preach, to tell them, and also try to implement, although I'm not sure what my balance sheet going to look like or profit and loss going to look like in the next couple of years. You know, it may be a lot of reds, then I might mobilize some fund from you to help out. But hopefully that, keep fingers crossed, we are quite certain that at least we're going to break even in the first year or two. And as long as Nitin, my executive director, could keep the cost down. Well, thank you very much for coming, and we are very proud, and I hope that you're also quite proud that at least that you have witnessed the implementation of what we call the beginning of the new era for Thailand's education. And please, anytime at all, you got our contact number. I would be very delighted to invite many of prominent guests here, particularly those who've been through London School of Economics before, to sit on our advisory board. I think this is something we must work together collectively, not individually, for the country. That's the most important. And whatever consequence that might come, we'll build more building and maybe build more school for children and so on. That's basically what we need to do before we pass our life. So thank you very much for your kind support and your attendance. Thank you.